afternoon. Thank you very much for being here with us today. My name's Scott LeBand. I'm the president of Colorado Succeeds. And on behalf of our board of directors, trustees, and advisors, it's my great pleasure to welcome you here today. So thank you again for being here. You know, I'm really thrilled you can join us. And as I look out over the crowd today, I'm just full of hope as I see friends and partners, as I see committed and passionate leaders from education, from our schools, and from our business community. And what makes me so excited is I see you all sitting next to each other, eager to learn how we can better work together to improve education and to improve and increase opportunity for kids across our great state. Now, over the years, I've had the privilege to work with many of you all in this room. And collectively, we've put into place a series of improvements, things such as high standards, accountability, school choice. And the great news is these things are working. We're building momentum, and now's the time to double down on that momentum. And that's exactly why you're here today. Now, with that in mind, I'd like to go ahead and jump into our presentation. I'll be introducing our speaker here. Today, we're very fortunate to welcome Peter Sheahan to the stage. He is the founder and CEO of the Karrikins Group. For those of you who don't know, the Karrikins Group is a growth-oriented consulting firm. They have deep expertise in business transformation and community investment. Peter is recognized internationally for his innovative business thinking and thought leadership. With staff in more than 24 cities and 15 countries, he knows firsthand the challenges of growing a business in these rapidly changing times. Peter's also the founder and chairman of Educator Impact, one of the leading teacher feedback tools that's been designed to enable data-driven improvement of classroom outcomes. He's also the author of 7 books, Flip, Generation Y, Making It Happen, and Matter, which is actually being released today, and we're going to have several free copies outside after the program for you to enjoy. Look, we've invited Peter here today to help us understand what it takes to fundamentally transform a system and to draw parallels to all of our work in education. And so with that, I'd ask that you please help me welcome Peter to the stage.
Thank you. Morning. Or g'day, as we would say in the deep south. About probably 11 or 12 years ago now, we were hired by a funds management company who were trying to create what they would call organizational transformation, but it's not radically different from system transformation. And their goal was to build a culture of trust, because their theory was if we can build a culture of trust inside the organization, then that will express itself outside the organization and will be quote unquote the trusted advisor for all of our clients. Long story short, they invested tens of millions of dollars for absolutely no progress whatsoever. They had redone offices and all sorts of things, and we were kind of brought in to see if we could troubleshoot what had happened. And we went out and interviewed a bunch of their staff to try and find out why they were resisting change, quote unquote. And long story short, the number one reason a bunch of extremely well-educated, very well-paid professionals said they were resisting the move to a trusting culture was that management locked the office supply cabinet. And we sort of tested this over and over again. I'm like, really, you care about stationery? Turned out that was their big issue. So we run back to the senior suite and we said, we figured it out. It's dead simple. Just unlock the office supply cabinet. Transformation will happen. The head of HR thought that was brilliant. It was about empowerment and enablement. The CFO thought that was a stupid idea because apparently office supplies are expensive, but we convinced them to do it anyway. What do you think happened? People stole everything. I mean like everything. You know, remember that liquid paper we used to use with typewriter? Like they stole the liquid paper. No one even uses that stuff anymore. We get called in for a special meeting, which is never good when you're a sort of partner in transformation, and we get brought in and they're like, do you know how much stationery we just went through? And we're like, hold the nerve, you can't transform overnight. Things take time, fill it back up. So they fill it back up. Long story short, they went through 12 months of office supplies in 2 months, and we are in serious trouble. But somehow we get to convince them to believe in holding the nerve and the sustained power of symbols that represent trust, and they filled it up one more time. And interestingly, by the end of the 3rd month, there were more office supplies in the cabinet than they started the month with. That means people physically smuggled the stationery back in. I've seen people steal it, but like bringing it in is like a whole new set of behaviors. And it was such a stark reminder about just how fickle and just how difficult and challenging getting humans to change can actually be? Because I don't think logically or objectively anyone would oppose the concept of a high trust culture, would you? I mean, you can't argue with the merits of that. And yet when put to the test, individuals preferred to keep the behavior that they'd had all the way along. And when you think about the title of my session for the presentation, it says, what's the secret to systemic transformation? What's the secret to driving that kind of change? I would say what we have learned in 15 years in this space, based on not just the experience at the wealth management firm that I referenced, but hundreds of others, is that we have to understand that organizational decisions, systemic decisions, policy-related decisions are the promise of value and transformation. But the realization of the aspiration, the realization of the transformation, the realization of the opportunity actually sits in individual decisions. And if you put that concept at the front of thought, it changes a couple of critical things. Number one, we need to understand that the way we create systemic level decisions, the way we set policy, the way we build organizational strategy in the private sector, say, the way we go about defining that can either destroy or enhance our ability to influence individual decisions when it comes to implement. Let me ask it a different way. Have you ever set policy here in Colorado that didn't get implemented, yes or no? Stupid question. Have you ever had an organizational strategy that sat in a beautifully bound folder in the office of the C-suite but never got aligned and drove change? Happens all the time. And sometimes the key challenge is not that the strategy was wrong, but the way we went about creating the strategy robbed us of the influence we need over the individuals that actually implement. That's the first key idea. The second is to understand that systems and organizations are just a sort of smaller version of a system, aren't actually designed to innovate. They are designed to replicate at scale, in perpetuity, consistent outcomes, and in fact they tend to reject variability rather than welcome it. Would that be a fair provocation? And that understanding would also change the way we think about how we drive implementation. And the third is that we just have to remember that humans are involved. And I think sometimes we get enamored by these radical innovations, these unbelievably different approaches. And we try and dump them in a system that's not designed to handle them, and then wonder why they get rejected so wholeheartedly. When what we probably should be doing is incubating the innovation outside of the system, and then cherry picking the highest leverage pieces of it, the ones we're confident we can consistently embed until they become habituated in the system, before we then move on to the next one, the next one, the next one, the next one. Then what happens is 36, 72 months follow, and you look back and you can't believe how much has changed. Yet it was very small shifts, consistently executed, that ultimately led to the transformation. That said, we do have the ability to accelerate the adoption and potentially even enable the incubation inside of very conditioned, staid, systemic environments. But two things have to happen: capability and capacity. People often talk about, all right, if you want us to innovate, you need to give us more money. Anyone ever heard? Right, okay. Let me just give you a reference. One of our clients is Apple, another one of our clients is Microsoft. Did you know that Microsoft spend, in the 3 years prior to Apple becoming the most valuable company in the world, Microsoft was spending 6 times more money on R&D than Apple were during that same period, and still to this day spend 6 times more money. Now, I'm purely objectively, which one's created more value in the marketplace? Now, Microsoft's on a bit of a turnaround now, and Satya's bringing a whole different kind of view there, but no one at Apple was running around saying we need more money. Steve Jobs was running around and Tim Cook were running around going, no, 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 we're just going to do less, better. But the bit that people miss is that without giving the extra money, there are other currencies that have to become available. And so what Jobs actually did is he walked around, shut, 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 shut. He said strategy was 1,000 no's before they got to a yes. He said, I'm as proud of the things we didn't do as I am of the things we did do, because the more he said no to, the more capacity he created in the system. Does that make sense? Not money, an available resource, but time as an available resource, mental energy as an available resource, creative application as an available resource. And I would put to you that in the absence of an environment where unlimited capital is available, are we in an unlimited public funding environment? No, right? Like it's pretty fixed, hasn't moved in 5 years. We have to create for the people in the system space, capacity, if we want them to begin to innovate. So, from me to you, I think this is a deeply powerful concept about business playing a more active role in driving transformation in education. I think inclusiveness and humility from all parties involved in that process with a human centricity is a really powerful idea. So I'd like to thank all of you for what you do. I know on my behalf and on behalf of anyone that works in my team at Karrikins Group, if there's anything we can do to help accelerate this process and contribute, we'll absolutely do that. So Scott and to all the team, thanks for having me, and I'm going to sit on the panel and hang out for a little longer. Thanks, mate.